Hello, in this presentation we are going to talk about how to describe a line chart or a graph wherein some future trends are shown. You're supposed to be very precise while writing about the graph, and like for example if you look at this is written in just 159 to 160 words, and you're supposed to talk about only three things while describing the graphs. The first is highlights, the second is trends, and the third is comparisons. So highlights, trends, and comparisons, these are the three things you are supposed to talk about. When you write about the graph, you need to understand that the purpose is to show your skill of writing precisely. You should be as precise as possible. See, when you write about an essay, when you write an essay on a given topic, you can elaborate, you can discuss various points, and you can substantiate your ideas. Here you are supposed to be very precise. You are supposed to speak about the content in the most precise manner. One variation of a graph is where you talk about future trends. So basically here if you look at this graph, it shows that the trend line starts from 2000 and it goes all up to 2025, which means there are past trends as well as future trends shown in the same graph. So this becomes a little challenging, where a participant is supposed to show his ability to talk about past as well as future, and proper use of tense is the key to get good marks here. So in addition to being precise, you are also supposed to use correct tenses. Okay, so first of all let's study this graph and then we will study the answer. As we can see, there are three trend lines, and the three trend lines depict three countries: Iran, Indonesia, and Russia. And as far as the trend line of Iran is concerned, the green one, you can see this is showing the most substantial growth. This one is Iran, and it was at the lowest point, and it crossed Indonesia and Russia to move to the highest point by 2025. So we can consider this as the highlight of this graph. Then if we look at Russia, it closely follows Iran, and it maintained its top position or highest level till 2000. But in 2000 there is a Iran crossed over Russia. As far as Indonesia is concerned, this one is the line with the least growth, or the migration of population was the least in this country. So this we can take it as an agenda. When we study, we should study like this. We can write some notes on the paper itself, so we know what is the main agenda and what are the highlights of the graph. Like for example, in this case, definitely Iran is the highlight and Indonesia is the low light, or something which shows the least growth. So let's see how we write it. First, we have to write the introduction. Introduction is nothing but the paraphrase of the question itself. So you can use the same words as given in the question, just paraphrase them or use some synonyms of those words. The chart below illustrates the past trends and future predictions of migration from cities to villages in three nations. So here, as we can see in the question also, some similar types of words are used. I'll show you that to you quickly. Here is the question. I'm sorry there is a background noise if you are hearing that. Okay, so as you can see here, I'll just clean it up a little bit. So basically the question is this. The question says, the chart below shows the movement of people from rural to urban areas. Now we can change this from cities to villages, right? Shows movement. In place of movement we can write migration, so this can also be changed. In three countries, and predictions of future years, and future predictions or future projections. So we can use those kind of words to frame our sentence as shown here. The chart below illustrates the past trends and future predictions. So, we have written the past tense and future predictions of migration from cities to villages. Rather than saying urban and rural, we are using a different word, cities to villages in three nations. So instead of saying three countries, we said three nations, which is, the right paraphrase of the question. Overall, all the three. Now, see, the first thing is you are supposed to give an introduction. Let me just give you a summary or a template for it. You're supposed to write an introduction, then you're supposed to write an overall picture, one line or one sentence that clearly depicts the overall picture of the graph, and then you are supposed to talk about trends, comparisons, and highlights. So basically, this is the third paragraph. The introduction, the overall picture, and the body, wherein we talk about trends, comparisons, and highlights. So let's see. Basically, this was introduction. Now overall picture. Overall, all the three countries show a growing trend. So this is something important. You can talk about something which is common in the graph. This is the highlight or the overall picture. In one line, if you want to explain something, you can say that all the three countries showed a growing trend. So this is something which is common, and this is what you can say in the overall picture. Overall, all the three countries show a growing trend of migration. The trend line of Iran depicts the most dramatic changes there. The trend line of Iran, though, you can like that also. The trend line of Iran, however, and when you write however, you can put it in between two commas. So it's like a highlighter, right? Or instead of however, you can say though. So though is a little a little deviation from the trend, right? We make use of though there. The trend line of Iran, though, like this also you can write. The trend line of Iran, though, depicts the most dramatic changes there. So since this is the most dramatic one, we are calling it like that. Okay, I'll just clean it up a little bit once again. Now comes the body. So if we move a little further, I'm sorry, just give me one second. Yeah. So basically, this is the body. The trend. So we are supposed to talk about trends, comparisons, and highlights here in the body. The trend line of Iran is the highlight of the graph. As shown, the migration was on a moderate scale from 2000 to 2005. So from 2000 to 2005, the trend line of Iran showed a moderate growth. This is the lowest, as you can see. It showed the moderate growth, but it is expected to increase dramatically from 2005 to 2025. But it is expected to increase dramatically. In fact, it is not expectation. In 2005 is the past, so this is the error here. But it is expected, but it grew, but it grows, or in fact I should say, but it grew, or it rose dramatically. It rose dramatically from 2005 to 2025. So it rose dramatically from 2005 to 2000. Now see, 2025 is future. Still we are saying it rose dramatically from 2005 to 2025. We are talking about the trend line, not of the trend. And in the next line, we can talk about the future projections. We can tell that 2025 is yet to reach. But here we are using it in the same sentence just to showcase the line that it rose from this to this. So it's about the trend line, not the actual movement. By 2025, it is expected to it is expected to reach as high as 95 million. So here we are talking about the future trend. By 2025, it is expected to reach as high as 95 million, overtaking Indonesia and Russia. So here we are talking about it in future tense, and this is something important. We have to showcase our ability to write something in future tense here, because we are talking about something in 2025. So that this line shows that you are able to express in future tense easily. It is worth noting that Iran's migration was at the lowest level till 2025, but in 2025 it is expected to be at the highest level. But it is lowest till 2005. Actually, it is 2005, not 2025. It is expected to be at the lowest level till 2005, but in 2025 it is expected to be at the highest level. Now see, again this is expected to be, or we are, it is projected to be. You can, it is estimated or projected. It is projected to be. This is a better word. Projected to be at the highest level. Now see, we are done with Iran, and as Iran is the highlight, we have kind of devoted one big paragraph to Iran itself. This whole paragraph is about Iran, so I can just put it in some other color just to showcase that we are trying to highlight Iran here. So this is all about Iran. The next paragraph then talks about Russia. Similarly, so now you see, this is again a very good word. It shows some kind of similarity between uh, Iran and Russia. Similarly, Russia's trend line also shows a noticeable growth. Now this is again an adjective which defines growth. We say noticeable growth, and we have used a colon here. Colon is used to give further explanation, and this is one good way of showcasing your vocabulary. Similarly, Russia's trend line also shows a noticeable growth. If you are not clear about the use of colon, you should study how to use colon, and it's a good way to showcase your, grammatical range and accuracy is something that you are checked on. So basically, you can show that using some varied structures of grammar. But then, yeah, you should master them first before you use them. And I'll use a different highlighting, color, just to showcase in a better way. So similarly, Russia's trend line also shows a noticeable growth. So this is Russia's trend line, the second one. We are saying it is also showing a noticeable growth, but we are not elaborating it too much. It's very precise. Russia's trend line also shows a noticeable growth. I have put a colon here, from around 15 million in 2000 to a projected count of. Now this is again a key phrase or key word that we can consider here, because we are talking about future trends. So projected count of 85 million by 2025. So we are using the structure of from and to. So from this point, it has reached to this point, to a projected growth of. So from this point to this point. Sorry. So from Russia's trend line also shows a noticeable growth from around 15 billion in 2000 to a projected count of 85 million by 2025. And Indonesia gets the least space, or we give least attention to Indonesia because it is at the lowest, and we just write one line. We don't even talk about its numbers. Indonesia's trend line shows least movement with a substantial gap between. So we are talking about, instead of talking about its numbers, we are just talking about the gap between these two. Indonesia's trend line shows least movement with a substantial gap between the other two countries and Indonesia at the end of 2025. Right? So by 2025, or at the end of the trend line, we can say anything like that. The beauty of this kind of writing is that you are supposed to that it is very, very precise. You are supposed to be very precise while writing about the graph. Don't think that you are supposed to elaborate all the points. See, we are here, it is minimum 150 words are required, and we have written 159 words, which means we are exceeding by just 9 words here. Although it does not say that you are supposed to, there is no maximum number of words. Minimum 150 words are supposed to be written there, but you can write 200, 250 words also, although it is not required. My assertion is, and suggestion here is, that you should use minimum number of words, because the more you write, the more errors you commit. So why to give a chance to get our marks deducted? So basically, try to be as precise as possible, as shown here. You are not supposed to talk about numbers to a great extent. You're just supposed to talk about the highlights. Identify which graph or which trend line is the most important trend line here. Like, for example, in this case, Iran was the most important one, so we wrote a big paragraph, and the other two just we talked about the other two very, very precisely. So this is how you can write about the graphs. and this is how you can use this is how you can use the phrases for future projections. So for future projection, you can say it is projected to reach, it is estimated to reach, it is expected to reach this much by this time. Thank you so much. All the very best to you. You can use the same structure to practice. I'm going to paste this answer there in the comments, so you can use this and you can practice using these kind of writing these kind of graphs with this example. Thank you for watching. All the best to you for your exam.